Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We're going to give a few minutes so everyone can get logged on here, and then we'll get going.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, our participants are logging on pretty steadily, so just a few more minutes, and then we'll get rolling.
Good.
Do you think Adrian's watching or is Art watching?
Hope not.
I'm going to say Adrian is not watching.
What about Art?
I have no idea.
All right, let's get going. Laura, if you could bring up the opening slide. Okay. Well, once again, thanks everyone for joining. I want to give a special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Cox Castle Nicholson. Thank you for your support in making and enabling these educational webinars to occur. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panelists and then hand it over to John Hewson and then get into the questions. So let me start with some bios. I really feel like this should almost be titled one of those legends panel. When I read through the bios, there's some definitely heavy hitters here. So first is Randall Lewis. So with over 45 years of real estate industry experience, Randall is Executive Vice President and Principal of Lewis Management Corp., a member of the Lewis Group of Companies. Randall oversees the marketing activities for all regions of the organization. His broad areas of expertise include land acquisition, market research, product design, advertising, and sales. I'm sure most of you know, but the Lewis Group of Companies is one of the most active real estate developers in California and Nevada. They have significant master plan communities, as well as many shopping centers, apartments, and industrial projects underway. The Lewis Group owns over 10,000 apartments and controls land for over 30,000 future homes and apartments, as well as owning and managing over 30 shopping centers. Randall himself is active and a philanthropic supporter of health, education, and the arts. He serves on the executive board for SCAG, as well as the Southern California Leadership Council. He's a past trustee of the Urban Land Institute and is current governor of the Urban Land Institute Foundation. He is also the co-chair of the San Bernardino County Alliance for Education and serves on several executive boards, including USC Sol Price School of Public Policy and the UCLA School of Public Affairs. I'm not sure how those two commingle, but it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you.
Next, we have John O'Brien. Full disclosure, he did not provide me a bio, so I had to do a little LinkedIn stalking and sprinkled in some of my own knowledge from knowing John for many years. So John started off his career as a city planner and landscape architect. And with that, he's a natural in his role as Vice President of Southern California Housing at Brookfield Residential, where he's been for nearly 20 years. He understands that planning goes far beyond location choices and architectural styles. It's about people. It's about lifestyle and communities that create a sense of place. Now, John is most definitely a family man, and if you ask, he'll happily show you photos of his kids surfing, probably taken by him. In many respects, it's John's appreciation for community. John's appreciation for community is his family. John strives to create for Brookfield home buyers what he'd want for his own family, from acquisitions, entitlements, product development, and operations to his publicly spirited involvement in the communities he develops. I can think of Anaheim as an example. John enthusiastically leads his team to create neighborhoods that complement the area while also balancing style, craftsmanship, and of course, family. John believes in always striving to improve the Brookfield experience by supporting the team and ensuring the right thing is always done for the customer. And to steal a quote from his LinkedIn page, challenges are what make life interesting. Overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. Thank you, John, for being here today.
Thank you, Sun T. That was beautiful.
Next up is John Hewson. Now, this is the most interesting bio that I've ever encountered. So it starts with John has climbed mountains, trekked through jungles, run wild rivers, and lived with previously unknown tribes, and having jogged 8.5 miles through the heaviest concentration of lions in Africa. It sounds more like a Discovery show bio rather than, as it would be, a PhD economist who has studied the Southern California growing economy for 5 decades and helping to create everything from detailed explanations of the ebbs and flows of the Inland Empire economy to analysis that helped create the clean truck program at the ports of LA and Long Beach. Somewhere in the mix, John also had time to serve as a community college professor. I find this really interesting, manage a Nevada casino, and run 50 or so political campaigns. It's a wonder you find time to sleep, John. In that capacity, he elected 5 assembly members, plus a host of city councilmen, mayors, supervisors, plus ethnically integrated the school boards of 2 local cities. His impact was acknowledged by the LA Times in 2006, naming him one of the 100 most people exerting the most influence in Southern California. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I should add that Randall was also on that list of 100.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Next up, John Demilion. He is president of Demilion Associates Architects and Planners. With over 25 years of extensive hands-on experience, John's architectural work encompasses everything from luxury custom homes, master planned communities, commercial development throughout the United States and abroad. As president, he's continuing the Demilion legacy of high quality architecture while leading a new generation of designers and simultaneously growing a culture of ingenuity and innovation for the future. He's a graduate of USC School of Architecture and has served as president of the AIA Orange County chapter and maintains active participation on a ULI council. He's a frequent speaker at industry conferences and events, as evidenced here, and as an active participant in NAHB, CBIA, and several local BIA and HBA chapters. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, what I'm going to do now is hand it over to John for a brief economic overview that is going to be contributing to many of the design opportunities that we're going to discuss here in a bit. John?
Very good. Now let me see if I can make this thing work. There we go.
You go.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. What I want to do is talk about the economic environment in which 2020 is going to take place. You can see I've got the arrow pointed towards desperation from fear. And this, of course, is because of COVID-19. If we look at where we were between April of 2019 and April of 2020, construction jobs were off 8,300. Finance, insurance, and real estate were down 5,200. These are the 2 sectors most involved with residential real estate. The other sectors, all these red bars, are lower paying population serving sectors, which is where the economy really got hit. Overall, between the 2 years, or between May 2019 and May 2020, job losses in the Orange County and the Inland Empire together were 443,000, down 13.7%. The Inland Empire represented 178,000 of those job losses, down 11.5. Orange County was down 15.8, a loss of 265,000. So we dove into a hole, no question. If we look at how this sets up, if we look at the Inland Empire, this year looks like what we're going to be seeing is a loss of about 70,600 jobs by the time the year is over. That would be a loss of 4.5%. If we look at the annual job growth in Orange County, it's down at just about the worst year of 09 when it was at 107 loss. 105 loss looks like will that be when we get to the end of the year. Both of those coming back about 50% from where we sit or sat in May, down 6.3%. Crucial to where the markets are going to go are the interest rates. You can see in blue the 10-year bond has dropped to just 0.75%, where the 30-year mortgage is down to just a little at 3.16. Interestingly enough, the spread between those two is the largest, at least going back to 2000. When we look at another thing that will drive the market besides interest rates, and by the way, I suspect the interest rates are heavily behind why we've seen the markets this last month explode. In terms of forecasted population, the Inland Empire between 2018 and 2045 anticipated to come up almost 1.5 million. That's just about double LA, and it's 400,000 more than the other coastal counties. If we look at the growth in the Inland Empire, that'll take us up to 6.1 million. If we look at Orange County, anticipated growth is 357,000. That'll take it up to 3.5 million. One of the things going on here is we look at construction and where it's going to be going on and why it's tough finding construction workers. One is what's going on with industrial space. Industrial space, and these are Inland Empire numbers because it's where most of it's going on. The vacancy rate down at 3.8. 3/4 of all industrial construction in March was in the Inland Empire. Second was LA at 15.4, Orange County at 4.8. When we look at why is it that we see much more population growth in the Inland Empire, this chart really says it all. If we look at the median price, new and existing homes in first quarter 2020 in Orange County was $832, $359 in San Bernardino, $410 in Riverside. What you save compared to the coastal counties, looking compared to Orange specifically, is compared to San Bernardino, you save $473,000. Compared to Orange County, you save $422 by migrating inland. This chart has existed as long as DataQuick has existed. I have their data back to 1988. It's always looked like this, and that's why the world is sort of tilted inland in terms of population growth and now, of course, a lot of new home construction. One of the things we haven't seen, and I'll be interested in the second quarter data now that we're seeing this explosion. I've been tracking the Inland Empire all the way back to 88. You can see they're practically flat in terms of all home sales. And so if what I'm hearing, at least in the new home, is a jump going on right now, that should maybe break us out of that. It'll be interesting to see, though I think part of this is just a lack of sellers. Another issue that's driving people inland are rents. This is the average rent in the Inland Empire at $1,562 versus $2,147 in Orange County. We definitely need to have more available rental units These are apartment rents that we're looking at here. The issues I see out of this is the economy is in dire straits right now. Fiscal and monetary positive are very positive. We're going to have a check-marked shaped recovery, not a V. One of the economists is running around that we're going to have a V. He is wrong. Interest rates very low. Population growth estimates strong for the IE, less for Orange County. Industrial construction will be strong, particularly in the Inland Empire. Price differentials are forcing buyers and renters inland. Home sales are flat, but looks like the low rates may be sparking a change. This is my email address. This is my name, www.johnhewsing.com. And there is on that data that along these lines that can be downloaded. I thank you very much. I look for any questions later on.
Thank you, John. Just a reminder to the audience, if you have any questions, please do submit them, and we're going to reserve some time at the end to cover those questions. I think having an economic backdrop of where we are can aid in how we look at design moving forward. And what I'd like to do is talk about design first at the master plan community level, and then kind of drill down to the individual unit level. So, you know, with COVID, there's been a lot of changes in how we sell and lease homes to enable us to do that. And so what I'd like to start off with is, John O'Brien, how do we best protect our customers while still providing access to models and common areas, all the while trying to keep our costs down?
So, great question, given all the COVID-19 issues and protocols. So I think these protocols and cleaning and sanitation and social distancing, I see all of that staying in place really for quite some time, especially given some of the recent upticks we've seen in new positive results. But what has come about through COVID-19 is what is adjusting and advancing unbelievably is how we sell our homes. And we're doing it in a way that is more respectful to the home shopper, allowing them to do it when they want to and how they want to. And it's really evolving into a digital home buying purchase, much more than what we saw before. The online sales team, so they've been around for years, really. They're the front door, but Brookfield and other builders now, we're all starting to advance this digital sales experience. So, you know, it was interesting how the pandemic hit, and it made us much more aware of sort of our strengths and, more importantly, the weaknesses that were within our operations, and the realization that we can utilize the virtual environment and technology to increase efficiency within our operations to sell homes with less travel, fewer unnecessary face-to-face meetings, and really bring buyers much further along in their purchase process, in their evaluation of what home they're interested in, prior to them even entering an actual model home. So clearly, as home shoppers are out there, they're starting their online search. That's where all the home shopping starts these days. And once you go to a builder's website, you get there. Now, where are you putting yourself through? So at Brookfield now, we are offering virtual tours. Other builders are doing this too, but our virtual tours of completed homes and models are in, we use this Matterport technology, and it's in amazing 360-degree tours. You can self-click through the pictures at your own pace, or if you'd like, you can go through a video. Self-clicking is the way to go, I will tell you, if you have a chance to check it out. The technology it's really impressive, and it feels like you are in the home. I would send you to one of our best new master plans I think we've done in forever is the Groves at Whittier. And thegroveswhittier.com is the website. Everyone should try and bookmark that. Click to the Commons, And the 360-degree tour of the amenities there are truly outstanding. Like, it is breathtaking. We did a bunch of historic rehab on this structure, so I won't go into all that, but I encourage you to go to that website. And you can also see the individual model homes through 360-degree tours also. These are all able to be viewed on your phone or from a desktop, whichever you prefer. Again, allowing buyers to focus their interest. We're also working on interactive site maps, home exterior visualizers, you know, more and more to completely expand that online digital experience for home shoppers. So the other interesting thing that we started was prior to COVID, really, who knew it was coming? But back in the latter part of 2019, we started to roll out, Brookfield started to roll out self-guided tours that we call My Time tours. And so when the pandemic hit, we quickly ramped that up to all of our communities, and we now have it fully functional across all our actively selling communities. So what this is any home shopper, they could be on their phone, driving around, go to the website, and within a few clicks, you have to sign up, a simple sign up sheet. The steps are easy, and you can receive a text message that then provides you a code for you to enter the model home or potentially a standing inventory home on your own without any assistance. You don't have to see anyone or talk to anyone. So and you can schedule it yourself. You don't have to call someone and say, oh, I'd like to sign up. When are you available? You can see the times available and set yourself up with your own time slot. So it's really cool. And it's really catering to the customers. When do you want to come see our model homes? We're also piloting a strategy to offer interactive voice dialogue where customers can ask questions during their private tour. Whether it be Alexa, Google, or Apple, we're providing that flexibility during your My Time tour. So we've had great feedback that our customers appreciate this flexibility, and I put this note in here. So during this increase in traffic and interest in homes for sale, we've had over 800 unique tours in the past month at our different neighborhoods. So really feeling like that's a step for us. And I know some other builders are doing the personal, unguided tours, but I think that's really respectful of where we're at with COVID-19, and I see it being important going forward. A couple other things on the digital side. So the transactional side of the home buying process is also becoming more digital. I mean, you can access everything you need online. For a long time, buyers had to write an actual check for their earnest money deposit to purchase a home. They still do, but who carries a checkbook around these days? It's all either Venmo or it's not even PayPal, it's Venmo. But anyway, we're piloting electronic deposits. So there's ACH deposits that we're working on through ESCO right now. And then we're also piloting a program with First American Escrow, where buyers literally take a picture of their deposit check and it can transfer the funds into their escrow account and assume the position of their earnest deposit. Then obviously loan documents and closing documents are all being signed digitally. There's really 5 or 6 of them that can't be signed digitally, but the days of those stacks of it taking, an hour and a half to get through your closing documents are really much less. And there's only a handful that actually need to be signed in wet ink, like the grant deed and the note, the trust. So anyway, I think it's an exciting time for our industry, given we've talked about home building and, the construction being hasn't changed in 50 years. Same old slab and then framing and that process. But here we are, we're being forced now to evolve at least the home selling side of it. And the home selling side of it is one of the most important, because if we can't sell homes, then we can't build homes. So I like the advancement that has forced us into as an industry to become more digitally enhanced and really serve the customer better. So it's good evolution for our industry. So those were my notes on how we're going to protect the customer and sell homes along as we evolve here.
Thank you. It sounds like you put a lot of work into creating a good digital hook to get customers interested, and then using a lot of technology to facilitate, on-site tours and simplifying the transaction process and minimizing contact. Randall, do you have any thoughts on this same
Yeah,
question?
Brookfield state of the art, and John did a great job. Just 2 tips for the apartment site and for the new home site. I think it'll put more pressure on the on-site signage and signage within the model homes, because you can't rely on a leasing agent or a sales agent to be walking through. So I think it will benefit builders and apartment people to do more signage. The other thing I saw at one subdivision, we've got the distancing signs on the ground where people may be waiting to get into a model. They use those as sales tools also. So the little footprint that kept you 6 feet apart, it would say library a mile away or city park 2 miles away. So just you've got some signage and people are waiting in line, take advantage of that opportunity to sell the benefits of your community. And that's all.
Thank you. Next question I had is for John Demilion. What tech and design opportunities can assist with all of this? What's going to be the leading edge here moving forward?
Yeah, well, so back in April, Demilion Associates actually conducted a survey with hundreds of our contacts through eBlast and social media. And we wanted to investigate how the idea of home has changed and the future trends may have shifted due to the effects of coronavirus. And we got great feedback from people. In fact, hundreds of people responded, not only people from our industry, but also people through Facebook. Some of our family members even responded. So we got a good span of information, and we've been able to take that information and synthesize it into what we have a R&D studio in the office, and we call it Idea Lab. And so we're taking some of those concepts and applying it. And so a couple of things that we've been investigating at this time is this transitional space into your home. It's almost like reinventing the mudroom. We've kind of coined the phrase, it's a wellway, a place where you can store your shoes and your purses and your purses and totes and so forth. But it's also a place where you can keep your home clean and secure, and maybe there's a laundry room and a powder room next to the entry. I know that's not always a desirable thing, but maybe we can creatively do this. And so it becomes kind of a transition from the outside to the inside. So we're looking at that. That was actually something that a lot of people responded to. Obviously, health and wellness is really important. Looking at antimicrobial doorknobs and automatic faucets and circadian lighting and air filtration and so forth. So wellness is really important. And then lastly, from a community standpoint, decentralizing some of the common areas in our master plan communities, and to allow maybe a smaller or more private gathering for some of the spaces, and focus more on smaller parks and trails. So those are just a few things. We have got about a list of 20, and we've been slowly feeding that out to through social media and so forth. I think we're on our 4th week on that, so stay tuned.
Great, all fascinating stuff. Randall, with such an extensive apartment portfolio, your work's not done once you sell the home. Retention is a big part of what you need to do. So what changes to design are you contemplating within your apartment portfolio to increase retention of renters?
Sure. And you're right, you sell the house once, but you have to keep releasing it for the next 30 years or 40 years. So retention is very, very important. Well, first, in the amenities, we're looking to see how can we keep people healthy. Health's always been a hallmark of our company, especially the last 20 years. So we're trying to come up with some ideas, knowing that places like 24-hour fitness, some have closed. A lot of gyms, I think, aren't going to survive this. So we're trying to think, how can we make our gyms as safe as possible? But then we're also trying to look to say not all health and physical fitness takes place in the gym. So we've got events teams. We're trying to say, what are exercise activities or others that can happen outside a gymnasium, whether it could be outside park courses or yoga classes or Zumba. So we're trying to redefine health as a lot more than just what happens inside the gym. We're looking at a lot of programming ideas too, which don't require any people to be next to each other, but to say, can we do more classes on fitness or cooking? We're trying to also partner with our cities to say, how can they contribute to health? So that's one part where we're really looking at programming and amenities to say, let's really promote health and wellness. Within the homes, we're doing all the things I think everybody in BIE is doing, looking at much to make it as touchless, looking at the transitional places. And we're looking at just some other changes, recognizing so many people are working at home now and trying to say it's not a matter of having a home office. It's a matter of, do you need 2 home offices or 3 home offices, which may have to just be little nooks and crannies. And some of our talking to our customers and our employees, we're finding out a lot of them are doing their work in odd places. Some are working in garages, some are working in their cars, some are working in their backyards. So we're trying to think, how can we get more places for our customers just to do their work? Because I think a lot of them are realizing they may be at home for 6 months or 2 years or forever. Spending a lot of time on that. We put business centers into almost all of the new apartment communities and a lot of our master plan communities. And we're finding an increased demand in our business centers. Again, it's someone that says, I'm working at home, my spouse or child or grandparent is also working at home, and I just need a quiet place to go. So we're really focusing on, do we need even more business center places where people can have an isolated place outside the house? And then we're even looking at our just landscaping and other things, just how do we make it when people, right now there's so much doom and gloom, neat smelling things, just trying to say, can we create more pleasant environments? So those are the kinds of things we're spending a lot of time on.
It sounds like you're spending time on literally every aspect of design that goes into
everything. Yeah, design. The house is important, but when a customer is buying a home or renting an apartment, it's a whole lot more than just what's inside those 4 walls. The 4 walls really matter, but they're buying a lot of other stuff also.
Yeah, speaking to that, there's been an escalating amenity war in residential development for quite some time. As we all know, these amenities have been focused on creating, a sense of community by bringing people together. With social distancing now becoming more of a norm, John, this question's for you. How do you see amenity design within master plans and high density communities, whether apartment or for sale, evolving in both the suburban and infill locations over the next few years?
Yeah, and I'll try and be brief. I do think we could see some wider sidewalks or maybe more patio space to hold greater capacity while we allow for some of the social distancing. I think we'll see more touchless technology in terms of everything from restrooms and entry and access being more touchless, either with codes or with phones. So I think technology is going to help spur some of that. I like Randall's comment about workspaces in community centers, and there might be a bank of X number of little private workstations that you could go to work in. And then I think pets became important during the pandemic. So I think catering to the old dog wash and those things. The last thing on amenities for me is having the amenities built early on and having them deliver with your model openings. And the apartment guys do a great job of that, of having all those amenities done when they're going into lease up. And us in the for sale business, we need to do the same. At Brookfield, we try and do that at every opportunity we can. But yeah.
Thank you. Randall, you touched on a lot of that already, but any thoughts to add?
Sure. Well, now, build on what John said. And again, we do apartments and master plan communities. One of the things we always say, if you get the bikes right, you get the pets right, and you get package delivery right, you're probably going to get half the battle won. So, because we see in our communities, even the most family-friendly communities, maybe only half of the residents have any children. And it's rare we have a community where we don't have more pets than we have children living there. So yeah, just be focusing on the packages, on the pets. And more we're hearing a demand for bikes, bike repair stations, or just bike paths. So those are some of the key things we're looking at.
I would add one last thing there is high-speed internet access. So for example, in Ontario Ranch, that whole master plan area has the gigabit speed access available to all the homeowners. And I think that's going to prove to be a more important item going forward. And how do we get that into all our neighborhoods so that you can have multiple users and high bandwidth and quick access to everything from working at home to shopping also.
Yeah, shopping definitely important for a lot of folks. Speaking of remote working, at MBK several years ago, we made the decision to include a co-working space, like 6,000 square feet worth, in one of our communities in the South Bay. And we were a little bit nervous at the time, but right now we're really thankful that we've got that in our project and are looking to see how it impacts the overall performance of the project. With that, remote working is poised to be a major driver of design in the coming years. John Demilion, this question's for you. What potential impacts do you see in community design? Do you think we're going to see more micro markets and things like on-site daycare being designed into the communities?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely those opportunities, but I want to go back for a second to what John said, John O'Brien, and Wi-Fi is so important. It's really the spine of all the technology, running everything from, our Netflix and of course all of our remote access and so forth. So I applaud you for doing that, John. That's really good. But in addition to a lot of the daycares and some of the micro markets, I'm also seeing, and we've seen this, and we talked about this in our ULA console. We actually did a little study on this, and one of the things we talked about was, providing more outdoor venues that, can naturally provide some of those social distancing, like amphitheaters and live music and movies under the stars. And, some of these, you're starting to see some of these amenity programs now, but that was something that became pretty popular, and a lot of people are talking about it through the ULI. And then, just can't talk more about, family time, some more of the discovery trail systems where families can walk and have family time. I know that during this whole 3 months, I went on many walks with my families, and it was actually quite bonding. So I really encourage that. And some of the things that Randall said too about the wider sidewalks, really important. So yeah, so I agree.
We named our last apartment project Discovery Village. So yeah. And we put in a bunch of tricky things for that.
Switching gears a little bit and diving more onto the home and apartment level design changes. There's been a focus in single family for multi-generational living. The question I have is, I guess for you, Randall, to start is, what about multi-generational living in apartments for families that are having, their parents or grandparents move in?
Well, it's an excellent question, but I would broaden it because one market, which Lennar has done a great job in Brookfield and Horton, almost everybody's doing next-gen suites of some sort, but we're trying to do some of those in our apartments, and we're finding we're getting just as many. It's not the 40-year-old whose 70-year-old parents move in. We're getting a lot of 40, 50-year-olds whose 25-year-olds are moving back home. Either they can't get a job or they are saving money. So as we're all looking at multi-generational living, I wouldn't just focus on the elder side. It goes in both directions. And so we've got a really successful floor plan where it's an upside down house, and downstairs it's got a bedroom, and upstairs it's a living room, kitchen, and master bedroom. And it's been very, very successful for just the kind of market you want. So I think what we see in our markets, it's never more for us than 10 or 15 or 20% of the market, but it's a definite niche market that is worth going after.
Do you see that niche increasing in the coming years, especially after what we just heard on the economic outlook and the affordability issues?
I think it will, there's something people like John Hewson talk about decoupling. And so right now we're in an era of coupling where people are coming back together and sharing houses and co-living, co-working. I think after time, whether for health reasons or people getting sick of each other, I think we're probably going to hit a peak of people living together. There will be a reaction of new households being formed with people trying to get out of the house. So again, I think it's a definite trend. It may get a little bit stronger. I don't think it will be a dominant force. It'll be a strong force, but not a dominant force.
Thanks. John Demilion, are you seeing your clients ask for a product like this, or what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been doing this just like everyone doing the multi-generational for single family. But what's really interesting is some of the studies we've been doing on multifamily. Right now, as we all know, that every inch counts in the multifamily projects and square footages and densities. But we actually did a concept really recently in the desert, and it was a lock-off unit. So in these multifamily units, you might have a 2-bedroom unit next to a 1-bedroom that you could have like a pass-through, similar to what you would see in a hotel. You have a pass-through door. You can rent that space out separately as a studio, or if you have seasonal family members or whomever moving in, then you can just rent that space out temporarily and have a connectivity to that unit. And therefore, you're able to have this multi-generational space. And we actually have been playing with that, and also a lockout space, not necessarily connected to. You could also have more of a lockout that's adjacent to it. So those are some things that we've been looking at from a multifamily standpoint.
Thank you. That's all very interesting stuff. John O'Brien, Brookfield obviously is a innovator in terms of tech in the home, and with a stronger focus on smart living. Are you guys looking at filtration systems for air and water that are above, current commercial standards, or, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and you just look at the health and wellness side of people's lives, and so we are putting some resources to study this a bit more. I think it's another big area of opportunity for home builders and apartment builders alike in terms of new construction, for us to really look a little closer at air filtration systems and water quality systems that are coming into our new homes. We haven't quite solved it yet, and there's some other groups. I think Thrive Communities up in Seattle is making some steps and progress here, but pitching some of the clean air for some of their homes and their communities. But I think it's a great opportunity, again, for us to sell against used homes. That it's something we need to push the envelope on in terms of making sure our air quality, we can start pitching it as cleaner and fresher than what you get in that crummy old used home. So
great point. So I'm going to say two concepts. One, remote working, and then next, distance learning. With those two concepts in mind, are we going to see the death of open floor plans? Maybe John O'Brien, you can take this one first.
I don't think so personally. I think this is we're in sort of the trough here of the check mark or the V or the U or the whatever type of recovery we're in. I think we're down towards hopefully we're near the bottom of it, and we'll see how it all comes back, but it will come back. And I think forever culture is gonna be altered by some of these recent experiences. But I just think that you will have family, and you will have, the ability to entertain, and those are some of the reasons why those open floor plans make a ton of sense. I think they need to incorporate some of the things that John Demilion was pointing out in terms of special spaces for studying and working and getting your own private space. And maybe this is just me, but I love open floor plans, so I hope they don't go away. But I think they're going to be around. John Demilion, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I totally agree. I think open floor plans are here to stay. It's one of the most desired things you see in our our buyers. But you know, with the high ceilings and hard surfaces, you do get a lot of acoustical issues. And one of the things that we're trying to study right now is, you know, sound attenuation, what we can do to maybe deaden the sound. I mean, I know in my own family where my two kids are doing school, my wife's teaching school, and, you know, we're all kind of fighting in this space and just isolating ourselves. You know, there's some interesting concepts out there, but I have a good friend who's in the AV business, and he's starting to install what they call Zoom rooms. And Zoom rooms are basically a space where you can do this in a quiet space with good lighting, good sound system, good, you know, good microphone and such. And so, you know, maybe there's these little areas off of this main space where you can have these type of things. I don't think Zooming with people is going away. You know, this is such a great way to communicate, and regardless of COVID or not, we've all become closer with some of our relatives across the state, and I just see more of that. So why not have a space where you can do that efficiently? So we're exploring the whole Zoom room concept and working with with my friend and trying to figure out the technology and honing it.
Yeah, my
If
Zoom.
I could just add, what I think this will do is, I agree with both speakers, but I think it will give the architects and the home builders an extra niche to try to differentiate. Because while I think there are going to be, people are going to go back to the great rooms, not everyone will go back to the great room. So as we look at our master plans and say, okay, well, this builder is going to be 1,800 feet, 2,000 feet, and 2,200 feet, and just make them bigger, a 12-ounce burrito and a 16-ounce burrito, it may be time to slice in a chili relleno. And then you could have two great room plans and one plan that's got more nooks and crannies. So I agree that the great room is, I think, going to stay, but I also would suggest that there may be some people who want something different going forward. And what a neat niche for the builders to go after.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I love the analogies, especially at lunchtime. Switching gears a little bit, I'm going to remind the audience that if you have any questions, feel free to submit them. And I'm going to go to some of the questions. So this one's from Bill Watt. Hey, Bill. How important is real visual privacy in outdoor spaces, backyards or side courtyards, in cluster or alley load product? Anyone want to take a run at that one?
Yeah, I can mention something. I mean, privacy is extremely important, and yeah, as our lots are getting smaller, privacy has always been an issue. We are seeing more and more people, as they're staying at home, especially using their outdoor spaces. So, you know, I don't know if you do that with landscaping as a buffer. It's not really an architectural solution, but I think working closely, you know, with the landscape architect and working those indoor-outdoor relationships is really important.
I think it's important too, and we in fact lots of times charge premiums for those homes that are on the edges of communities that don't back on or side on to other homes, you know, as long as they're not backing onto a busy street, let's say. But and people would prefer to live there, so I do think it's going to continue to be important, and it calls for careful design of where you put those open spaces and how you juxtapose the clusters when they're lined up in blocks down the street. So,
Agreed.
The next question is from John Hogan. This is for you, John O'Brien. So how are your SoCal sales figures going on at Brookfield compared to last year into business plan? How much of a rebound since the COVID low point have you seen?
So we started off the year, all the builders started off the year doing very well. And so we were ahead of plan in terms of number of sales through the beginning part of the year, and then basically just slammed on the brakes. April and May were, well, let's say April and the first part of May were soft. And then we started to see things coming back in May. And then here in June, we're approaching 100 sales for the month of June, which is fantastic, and well over even our original business plan target that I think was 67. Because we did a Q1 update and we were a little bit nervous about, okay, this thing could be big. And so we went a little conservative on our projections at our Q1 update, but now we're feeling, we're feeling pretty robust. Like a number of builders, we kind of limited some of our spec starts, just concerned about starting more homes and putting more inventory into the construction WIP without having all the sales there. And now it turns out that the last 4 to 6 weeks, the sales have really come. So feels like we're in a good point, and we'll hope it will continue. But my one question for John Hewson in your final summary there was the economy is in dire straits, and what does the economy's in dire straits mean? And should we spec a bunch more homes, or should we pull back a little bit? So
I really think that's a question for you guys in terms of the people that are buying right now. Is it the interest rate? Is it the fact that that with COVID, we're going to all be close together, therefore they want homes now rather than being in apartments? I mean, your research is going to answer that question. There's no question it's taken off. The real question for your buyers from you is, why are you showing up? Why are you here? Why are you so many people coming in all at once? It's completely unexpected.
yeah.
And I need an answers for my research.
Well, a lot of the motivators you touched on, and I think from the concern side is we looked at those in your graph, the sort of service side of the industry, that diagonal piece that was all the job loss. And you're right, those people are not really buying our homes, and our homes are not getting propped up by government stimulus really. But some of those business owners are getting propped up from those purchases and that amount of spending that's happening. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
I do have a comment about, for those of you building multi-tenant particularly, the state has policy that says we need to start learning to live stacked at transportation nodes. And they're putting all sorts of things in place to do that. At the same time, nobody wants to get on a train. Nobody wants to get on a bus. And I've been talking with just the Riverside County Transportation Commission. They've seen almost a death of any passengers on Metrolink. So that whole strategy seems to be being called into question now versus single family detached.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. So at MBK, we've got 2 TOD transit-oriented developments. One in the city of Riverside, which was basically in the metro, right adjacent to the metro parking lot. And what we found is that we were expecting a high level of train commuter usage, and we didn't really see it. A lot of our residents were still either working locally or commuting via their vehicles. And some of our other TOD developments, one in the San Gabriel Valley, although we're adjacent to the Gold Line, we're still in an area that's job rich. So you don't necessarily need to get on that transit to get to your place of employment.
And if I could just chip in a big plug for BIASC, that John Hewson, to your question, they are challenging all those state planning assumptions and saying with telemedicine, with teleeducation, and with telework, are those assumptions correct or not? So BIASC, Jeff especially, has been leading a charge to say, let's question all of those assumptions, and his voice is being heard.
Well, it's been interesting to me over my 50, 60-year career, how many times the planners have tried to decide the way people want to live and how many times they've been wrong.
I hear you. Looks like we are running short on time. So I want to thank each of you, and I'm going to give you an opportunity for any closing thoughts on progressing design, and then I'm going to hand the reins over to Steve Lamont to close us out. So once again, thank you all for taking time out of your day, providing your thoughts and expertise on the topic of the day. And I'll just go down my screen there. So I'll start with you, John Demilion. Any closing remarks for the audience?
Yeah, well, I think this is a really interesting time. I think it was, I believe it was Rahm Emanuel who said, never let a crisis go to waste. And, this is an opportunity for us to provide, better homes that respond to today's challenges and address some of our consumers' needs. And so I just think this is actually an exciting time to be able to kind of reinvent ourselves.
I couldn't agree more with all the talk of health and wellness and innovating those concepts into our communities. I find it motivating. John and Brian, your thoughts?
First off, thank you everyone on the panel. We have the 3 Johns today, and add in Randall and Sunti, and it was a good mix. So thanks to all of you. My closing comment is in terms of creativity and design going forward, I think our industry still needs to work on diversity and diversity in culture and teams, because I really believe that the best ideas can be generated through very diverse ideas that are a full representation of society. And I'm not sure we always have that. So maybe a little off topic, but I think diversity in our industry is important as we look to cultures and men, women, the whole bit, and be able to generate great ideas to solve all these issues, and who knows what else is coming. So that was my closing thought.
That's a wonderful point. Thank you. Randall?
Well, I'll support what John just said. For moral reasons, we should do it. For very profit-oriented reasons, we should do it. Our customers are changing, and it's hard for us to design and really understand the needs of our different customers. So I totally echo what John said. And then I would just add in on BIA, just a plug again for BIA. There's some real major battles being fought over architecture, design standards, transit density, and BIA is doing an incredible job in issues that they really didn't get as involved in 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So now more than ever, membership pays in BIA.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. John Hewson?
I think an interesting thing that jumped out to me listening to the question of the technology that you're talking about in the houses is we have probably advanced 5 years in the use of technology in the last 3 or 4 months. This program is a perfect example of that. And so as you think about design, that's something that really needs to, we're way ahead of where we thought we were going to be looking off into the future.
Absolutely. So I'm about to hand it over to Steve Lamont, but before I do, I really want to thank the work that Steve, Laura, Jeff, all of our BIA staff do for us as an industry on a day-to-day basis. The focus recently has really switched to advocacy, and we're really seeing the results. What we've been able to accomplish in our opposition to implementing VMT has been really impressive and critical. And I'm just so appreciative of the work that our staff does for us. And with that, Steve?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. You guys talked about what I was going to initially open with. But again, thank you for everybody for joining. This is our second June webinar in a series of our webinars as we continue to work remotely. Big thank you to Cox, Castle, Nicholson for your sponsorships. Again, my name is Steve Lamont, the Executive Officer for BIA Orange County. And as you know, these webinars are essential to what we do, specifically our advocacy efforts. And as it was just discussed, I do want to take a little bit of time to update you on the VMT fight, which is the deadline for the implementation is literally around the corner. It is tomorrow. Many cities are pushing out a little bit, and they will be passing over the next couple months. But as you are aware, VMT will be the new metric under CEQA that developers will need to mitigate in terms of traffic. And so this is literally trying to find out how many miles someone will drive to work in essential services or certain services in the name of reducing greenhouse gas. So the further you drive, the more expensive your home can be. And of course, as we move into maybe the further, far-reaching areas of the county and of Southern California, because we are now working remotely, we don't need to try and make those houses more expensive because they're trying to, the state is trying to put us into mass transit. And we have stepped up in a significant way. We've gained support of the delay from multiple cities and jurisdictions, Orange County Board of Supervisors, San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors, Riverside, here in Orange County, the cities of Anaheim, Huntington Beach, Irvine, Mission Viejo, Newport, and Tustin, and even Yorba Linda. So you can still go to our website, stopvmt.com. We have generated so far over 50,000 emails into local elected. So with that, I want to thank our panelists, thank our sponsor, thank everybody who signed on today, and hope to see you at the next one.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good job at moderating.